LexisNexis, everything you need to know from getting your report to how to fixing the errors that are there that's causing you frustration, anger, and disappointment when it comes to getting your credit ahead. And of course, getting denied because you just couldn't qualify due to some of the records that are showing on your credit report. So in today's video, we're going to go from A to Z, everything that you need to know about LexisNexis and how you can fix it. Let's get you rolling with the intro. Now, we know that LexisNexis is basically a record provider. It's another unique database, much like your credit reporting databases. Unfortunately, what happens is they actually go by a different set of rules and regulations, which a lot of consumers don't realize. And in order to tackle LexisNexis properly, you absolutely need to get an entire report, which we call the CLUE report. It's a consumer disclosure report that you can access to read everything about you on an individual basis when it comes to your file and what are some of the records that are kept with LexisNexis. Now, to access this, you'll have to hop into the website. So let's get onto the computer and show you exactly what you need to do to get access to their LexisNexis report so you can actually look through it and basically analyze on some of the errors that are there and how you can go about fixing it. Okay, so we're now on the computer on LexisNexis.com on the website. So once you click on the website or you type in LexisNexis.com, you'll land yourself in a page just like this, okay? And you'll have a lot of, basically two options, but there's a lot more links that I want you to pay attention to. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here where it says privacy policy. You also have consumer access, but I want you to basically click on privacy policy. Once you click on that, what's going to happen is it's going to take you to a whole separate page with different sections. There's about 14 sections in here. The first section you want to click on is the contact section. Once you go there, you're going to have a couple of things that you want to pay attention to. It says Privacy Center. So if you have any questions, comments, complaints, or requests about your privacy policy and how they process your information, click the Privacy Center. So open this in a new tab. You can simply middle click on the middle wheel of your button, on your mouse button, or you just simply right click and open link in new tab. So once you're there, you're gonna be directed to a Privacy Center. And once in the Privacy Center, you have a couple of different things. You have requests that you can submit or simply go to a consumer disclosure report. So the best thing is there's a second paragraph. Okay, there's a consumer risk LexisNexis portal. Right click, like I said, and open a new tab. And then once that, you're going to be directed to a page like this, consumer portal. You can basically go there from the beginning, like we went here. You have consumer access. If you click on that, basically you'll be taken to a section where you have Privacy Center as well. But with that said, let's stick on to why we're going through here. So once again, you're on this page, you click on the second paragraph where it says consumer.risk.LexisNexis, and you'll be directed here. In this area, you get your CLUE report and your consumer disclosure report. Simply to get that, you have to click on this, and you'll be directed to submit information. Now, just be sure to request all this. You have a PDF form that you can open up and fill up the information there if you'd like, and then submit it to them. But I prefer just doing it online and then basically getting a response. So that's the first thing you'll absolutely need to do. That's the mission number one. So once you go through that process and once you actually do click on that red link here to request a consumer disclosure report, you'll have access to an entire report. You'll have access to LexisNexis, how they store information about you, what they do, the type of people or organizations, including marketing agencies and research companies that collected your data from you. So you want to basically pay attention to that. There's a lot of things that we have to pay attention to when it comes to LexisNexis, but that's the first thing, right? Once you have access to your data, once you have access to the information, then only can you start analyzing your report. But there are a couple of rules I want you to pay attention to. Now, LexisNexis itself is a universal database, but they're also regulated under RELX. RELX is a universal company that provides data and all these type of things, and they're actually located in New York. Now, they have a specific share in the marketplace. Obviously, they're on a stock exchange and everything, and they regulate LexisNexis and provide a lot of data and risk solutions to businesses, law enforcement, and so on and so forth. So here's the address of RELX. You can actually mail them to if you have any concerns or contact them as well, specifically being that you're in the United States. This is very critical, and you want to be able to understand this because they are the ones that regulate LexisNexis and all its predecessors. So keep that in mind. Now going back to LexisNexis, right? So you have your risk solution, you have the disclosure report, and then you have a couple of rights under the Consumer Protection Act. Now this applies for consumers of California. Obviously you want to read this section here, and then basically you have a lot of data that you can work with. But if you're not in California and then you just basically trying to fix your LexisNexis report or try to get information on it, then we came to the privacy policy section initially when we started our search here. So in this area, you're going to have a lot of information that I want you to pay attention to, right? There's a lot of info that's being shared about you. There's also a lot of people who use LexisNexis services to determine the risks on specific info about you and how they use that information. So I want you to read through this, and I want you to really pay attention to some of the things that they use when it comes to the type of things that they change about you, or in terms of how the information is processed, to the information that's being used and basically used to determine your credit worthiness, or to verify whether or not you qualify for some type of product, because LexisNexis has decided to share that information. Let's go over another element in LexisNexis that I want you to pay attention to as well. Okay, welcome back. So we're continuing our LexisNexis mission here. So you're coming from the consumer access and data access policies, right? So you're a US citizen. So you'd click on this by right-clicking and clicking on a new tab, and it'll lead you to this section right here. Now we talked about the type of opt-outs you can do, the type of US consumer requests. In terms of reports, you can do a security freeze, your disclosure information, consumer file disclosure, everything that you need to know, other US reports that are included with LexisNexis, but also there's different type of data that you have. You have the Accurate, Bridger Insight, and World Compliance. So these are all independent data that you have about you that you can analyze. So here's a sample that you can look at. Basically, it'll include everything about an individual, where they live, some of the SSN information, and so on and so forth. If they filed a bankruptcy, the previous addresses, and all this extra details, which I call personal identifiers. And you guys know that we have to always fix that, right? So think about these type of reports that they have on you. You have Bridger Insights, which is another type of report for compliance. You want to read through it as much as possible. You have another one, World Compliance as well. So it's a universal database, right? But most importantly, what you want to do is you want to access the one that we have here in the UI. So Fact Act, Disclosure Security Freezing, and making sure that you get your entire consumer report from LexisNexis. How do you fix this report? Now, that's the next big question a lot of people ask me. The first thing you want to know is they do have to comply under the FCRA to provide you a free copy of your report. That's the first thing. Second, you want to make sure that whatever they're following when it comes to privacy policy and making sure that they have the accurate information about you in their database is up to standard and compliance. If they don't have that, then they're basically violating the law. So you have the right under the Consumer Protection Act to request disclosure, not only about your entire file, but also about where they collect that information. Typically, if you have your LexisNexis entire report, you should have access to where exactly they collect that information. They'll give you the source of information. And it's basically just a 1 degree away to fixing your report properly. So you have to communicate with those other entities. Make sure that you know your consumer disclosures. Make sure that you tell them that under the Consumer Protection Act, you're entitled to get information from them, and they have to comply and follow the rules. So that's how LexisNexis comprises its databases. Like I said, it's an independent party itself. It's a private organization, but they do have to comply with consumer privacy laws, and they have to understand that there are information that they need to protect and stop sharing if you request it. So that's how you fix your LexisNexis report. It all starts with the strings that are attached to LexisNexis, such as the other regulatory or non-regulatory databases, the private parties that are out there, communicating with them about your consumer privacy protection, and basically going at it like that. Now, it does take a little bit of time with LexisNexis because it's a very extensive report. It's not one of those small ones like the consumer credit reporting agencies, but it is a first step to the right direction to making sure that your consumer reports, the credit ones, especially when you touch them, are basically handled in a very efficient way. So I'd like to finish off with that on the screen, so let's get back to the camera. Okay, so by this stage, you have access to CLUE report, which is your consumer disclosure report from LexisNexis, which you can download once you requested it. You've now known how to analyze your profile so that you can basically take care of all the negatives and challenges that are hurting you, and the information that's being disclosed to the consumer credit reporting agencies or other connected databases, as well as what are some of the things and steps that you need to understand about LexisNexis, the furnishers who are in contact with LexisNexis to use their databases for specific purposes, and what you have in terms of rights as a consumer to be able to tackle some of those challenges. So I hope this video gave you some insights on what you need to look out for when it comes to LexisNexis, the steps you need to take in order to fix those reports, and what are some of the moving forward steps when it comes to overall credit situation and how to improve that. Now let's go over a couple of key points that I believe I want to add as a bonus before I let you go here in today's video. So let's go over those. So much like LexisNexis, right, there are other consumer databases that you have to be looking out for. So for example, let's go over one of them called Check Systems, which actually has a record of all banking information about you, your checks, the savings, everything that you've done in the previous couple of years in terms of your consumer report on a banking level, and it's all there. Now they're also regulated by consumer protection and everything that you need to know with the FCRA. So you can actually get a free copy of your Check Systems report as well, and you can tackle it as the same couple of strategies that I shown you here with LexisNexis. You can actually move forward with that too. You also have SageStream, which is another independent bureau that provides data about consumers to credit reporting agencies, some of the lenders. Actually, some of the lenders are now falling back on SageStream because they believe to be a more reliable form of information. So you also want to tackle that with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as well as your protection under the consumer laws that you have. And finally, I'd like to start by saying, hey, look, it's not a very easy process at the beginning. Obviously, you have to go through some steps in order to kind of fix everything that we just demonstrated here. But once you get there, right, the steps to getting your LexisNexis, SageStream, Check System, all the other independent bureaus, once you learn to analyze them, once you learn to fix, and once you learn to use the law in your favor, you're going to move forward, because at the end of the day, now you know exactly what you're entitled to and what are some of the steps that you need to take so that you can tackle the objectives, So I think you should focus on first getting those disclosure reports before anything, before even attacking the consumer credit reporting agencies, the national ones, the Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And you might also want to look into Innovis as well. I mean, albeit we don't hear about Innovis being so apparent to a lot of institutions out there, it's still right under the FCRA that you have a right to that report for free once a year. So you can actually go out there and request the Innovis Credit Bureau to send you a copy of the report. It's important you know how to analyze those. It's important you know your rights under the consumer protection laws, as well as what are some of the steps you need to take to move you ahead with your credit game. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be sure what to do, and you'll basically never move ahead because of those fears. So go and overcome those fears. Take the information I gave you today and apply it to get you to the results that you're looking for. And with that said, I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing to this channel. Turn the bell icon on so every time there's a video like this, you'll be first to be notified. And with that said, this is your guide and mentor, Ali Rafter. See you guys next time. Bye for now.